Jikaze, Africa, jikaze, tujikaze, America, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing episode of the African Father in America podcast. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I am in Seattle, Washington, and I'm really privileged to be here with you for today's incredible show. I have a really special guest that I'm going to introduce to you in just a moment. But as you all know, whenever we are here for the African Father in America podcast, we also come here with a new African proverb. So our proverb today is coming all the way from Zambia, and it says that it's inevitable that two things will rub against each other. It's inevitable that two things will rub against each other. I want you to share in the comments, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or on TikTok. Let me know in the comments what this proverb means for you. And I'll take this opportunity to now just welcome my beautiful guest. My wonderful guest today is Samona J. Balson. Did I pronounce your name correctly, Samona?
Yes, you pronounced it correctly.
Oh, perfect. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing great, and I'm honored to be here.
Yes, I'm also honored to have you here. You're doing incredible work in the community with your wonderful organization, Gifts of Hope. Samona is the executive director of Gifts of Hope that has a vision of extending the gift of hope to as many of our brothers and sisters as possible, with the hope that the impacts that they make can change their lives forever. So Samona is also one of the special guests that we are featuring for this Women's History Month series. This is a series of conversation that I'm having with powerful, incredible women here in Washington State, where I live, and the work that she does is really why we are highlighting her. But also, she did a lot of work during the pandemic to help keep the community together. So this episode is made possible by Health Commons Project. A big shout out to Dua and all the staff members at Health Commons Project who made this possible. So as usual with the Daily African Proverbs, this show is known as the Daily African Proverbs, but the podcast is the African Father in America podcast, and we normally dissect these African proverbs in a way that we have a deeper understanding. We ground ourselves in what our ancestors could have been thinking about when they left this proverb behind. So remember that the proverb is from Zambia, and Zambia is in southern Africa, right next to Malawi and South Africa and Zimbabwe. And it says it is inevitable that two things will rub against each other. So I'm going to share 3 nuggets of wisdom related to this proverb, and then I'm going to give my guest an opportunity to also speak about this proverb briefly. And then right after that, we are going to go deep. We are going to learn a little more about Gifts of Hope. We are going to learn about Samona's story, because I love asking my guests to share with me what it is that inspires who they are today, because all of us have stories that started somewhere. So today we are going to talk briefly about the story of Samona that inspires the amazing work that Samona is doing. Now, when you think about this proverb from Zambia, it is inevitable that two things will rub against each other. There are 3 nuggets of wisdom that I want to speak to just briefly. The first one is that conflict and friction are a natural part of human relationships and interactions. You can never avoid them. Number 2, conflicts can be a powerful catalyst for growth and change. Don't just avoid conflicts totally, as it allows us to explore different perspectives. It challenges our assumptions, and it allows us to develop new skills and strategies for solving problems. Number 3, conflicts and tension and what this proverb is telling us is that when we we can turn difficult situations into opportunities for learning and growth and a deeper understanding of ourselves. Many of you who watch the African Father in America podcast consistently know that I'm a father of 3 girls, and I have to tell you that with my girls, we are always dealing with conflicts, we are always dealing with happiness, and so life is about finding a balance between joy and conflicts and happiness. It's all a part of this story. But Samona, I want you to also speak to this proverb. It is inevitable that two things will rub against each other. When we shared this proverb with you, what is it that came to your mind? Thank you so much.
I think what comes to my mind is a current program that we have now for young children of African descent, and it's a rites of passage program which teaches the children about their culture, where they come from. We're not just from America, but we come from Africa. And so what we do is we educate the kids, and we believe that it takes a village to raise a child. So what we do is we come together, we teach them about financial literacy, we teach them about who they are, whose they are, what they're capable of doing in this world. But most importantly, we connect them back to Africa so that they know the strong people that they come from. And our goal is to build up young children here of African descent so that they'll know that I can do anything. I'm capable of doing anything. And so we're bringing that world of education and knowledge and self-discovery to a child to show them that, the young children that sit next to us in class who may come from a different background, we're just as great as them. And so we're bringing those two worlds, and they're going to collide, and we're going to educate them, and we're going to build up and empower our youth.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, for those who are joining us on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, I just thank you so much for taking your time to join us for the show. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up, and also leave us with your comment. What is it that you've heard so far during this conversation with the incredible Samona that you also want to comment on? Feel free to also share your comments in regards to the proverb from Zambia. It is inevitable that two things will rub against each other. So if you don't know Samona yet, she's the executive director of Gifts of Hope. And Samona, what's the website for Gifts of Hope? Is it www.giftsofhope.org?
It's www.givinggiftsofhope.org.
Excellent. So make sure you check out that website and donate. So we like to support our local nonprofit organizations. But Samona, take us a little back to a time when you are maybe 8 to 16 and share with us something that happened that really continues to drive you. I share my own story that when I was 8 years old, my mother gave me a bicycle. And this was back in Kenya before I moved here. And she gave me a bicycle, and she asked me to help her distribute milk and bread in our neighborhood. So every day in the morning, I would wake up and get milk and bread to different small shops and kiosks. And she taught me how to be a businessman from a young age, make a little money from a young age. And that's why I have the discipline to wake up at 4 a.m. most of the mornings here in Seattle, and I'm getting a lot of things done. And people always ask, how is Simon doing all of this? And I credit it back to my mother during those years. Share with us something similar that really continues to drive you, because you're one of the few leaders that are willing to have a conversation with me, because this is an early morning show.
Well, I think my story is similar to yours, in that my mother was a giver. And so sometimes what you see is what you duplicate. And so at that age, I would see my mother giving to neighbors in need, individuals in need. When we come out of the store and we see a person who might be homeless asking for money. And so I think it's the 8-year-old in me, looking down and seeing what my mother does and how it brings happiness to others. And so I too, when I was 8 years old, I wanted to do different odd jobs. And so when I would do the odd jobs and get paid, most of my money would go to helping others. And so I would, my favorite holiday was Christmas. And so I love to give gifts. And I learned that my mother extended hope to individuals. And so later on in the years, I created Gifts of Hope. And I continue to give gifts to others, extending hope and letting them know that you too can be something. You too can overcome.
I love that. I love that. The way that we sharpen each other, we support each other is just beautiful. You described it really well, and I feel that is what your organization, Gifts of Hope, is doing. You have a beautiful vision, where you're extending the gift of hope, to others, especially our brothers and sisters who are in need. Share with us why you started the Gifts of Hope, and maybe one story of what makes you most proud of this work. What is it that even if you are facing, as I'm also a non-profit organization founder, and one of the challenges is always sometimes you write grants and you just get no, but there is something that keeps you going. There is something that tells you that, I'll smile even though there is a challenge. What is that one thing?
I think when I first started out, it was very difficult to get funding. And so I had to be creative with it. And so what I did was we started out in the tiny house villages here in South Seattle. And so we went into the villages, we asked them what it was we could help them with. They had 54 individuals there. And so they said, we need clothes, we need shoes. It would be nice to have snacks for our children. And so I got the community together to supply the things that they needed. And instead of getting funding, we got in-kind donations. So we had organizations to donate socks, clothing, shoes, and we were able to provide a lot for many people throughout South Seattle. And so it started off with in-kind donations, and it began to grow to individuals in the community reaching out and saying, hey, here's $100 here. And, the amounts, they started to stack up. And so it's really the community. Before I received donations, it was the community that came together and said, I know someone who works at Nike. I know someone who works at any store that you can list. I've met people at different stores who just gave in-kind donations. I've had seniors from senior citizen homes make blankets that we were able to distribute to those in the tiny house village. So we really came together as a community to make this happen. And the grants, they came thereafter. But just to give you a couple examples of the impact that we have on people is that there was a little boy who was 4 years old. He was sleeping in the van with his parents, and that's all he knew. When he was born, they resided inside of the van, and he was there until 4 years old. And so when I came in contact with him, the first thing he said is, I want to go to school. I want a teacher. I want to meet my teacher. And so they moved into the tiny house village. And I helped them to get into preschool. I helped him get all his shots and everything. And so when he came back from that first day of school, he was just smiling. We made sure we got him a haircut and everything. He was smiling. And he said, I went to school and I met my teacher. And he was just so proud. And he was proud of basic things that most of our kids get, but we take for granted that not all kids get that opportunity. And he was just every day until this day, he wakes up super early just to get his opportunity to go to school. That's one example. Another example is, we gave a man a pair of shoes. He hadn't had a pair of shoes in about 5 years. And when we gave it to him, a grown 45-year-old man broke down in tears. And that just shows the impact of what we're capable of, doing. Even if you have nothing, you have something to give. And so those are a couple examples of the impact, within our community and how we can help and how we got started with the community.
It's powerful. What you're doing is powerful, and you got you made me travel that journey and feel the feeling that this little boy felt, the feeling that this 45-year-old man felt. What you're doing is really, really incredible, and I thank you really from the bottom of my heart. I want to ask you to just start thinking about some of these questions that I want us to talk about next, around the impact of COVID-19 in your community. Think about that. It's one of the things I want us to talk about in a moment, but I want to come back to our audience members. I see your comments. I deeply appreciate it. I want to know where in the world you're joining us from. I know some of you are joining us on Twitter. Thank you. On LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on TikTok. and also right here on YouTube. So make sure you are leaving us with your comments so that we know exactly where you're joining us from, and also what it is that is inspiring you out of this conversation that we are having with Samona, the executive director of Gifts of Hope. So Samona, you're one of the few leaders that were selected for this special interview series for Women's History Month, highlighting women from the Black and African community that did amazing work when it came to mitigating COVID-19. Share with us some of the impacts or the effects of COVID-19 in your community.
I think the biggest ask for individuals that were in our community during COVID is food. Food and clothing and back to school supplies. And so we partner with Northwest Harvest to get individual meals. We reached out to other restaurants and we asked them as well to donate food so that we could do door drop deliveries to many people who are in need. There were plenty of families that were lined up. If we would start giving food out at 8 o'clock, they'd be out there at 6 o'clock. I had a grandmother of 8 who came with a suitcase to fill up her suitcase full of food to take back to her grandchildren that lived with her. And so I think that the impact we had was if you can't make it in the morning to come and get foods, we'll do a door drop delivery to you to make sure you have food. And so the difficulty became that many people caught on to the need, and so everyone was kind of having their hands in the pot. And so sometimes when a lot of hands are in the pot, that means that the food that's supposed to be distributed can't be distributed. And so the smaller organizations kind of had to back away so that the larger organizations would come in. And so then we had to reach out, to different areas. And I would go to restaurants and say, can you donate 10 meals a day so that we can feed this family? And so it was really difficult. But you also have to remember that, you can't help everyone. There's other people out there to help, but it was yeah, pretty difficult. And we were able to get masks to them. We were able to get hand sanitizer, all the things that one would need for COVID. We received donations, and I'm grateful that we were never at a place where we had nothing. Just when we thought we were going to have nothing, something came in, even if it was a smaller amount. So the impact was great, and we continued to do some community events, but at each community event, we'd have a COVID clinic set up to make it easier, especially for our community, because sometimes we don't like to go out. And so what I did was I brought it to the community where they could come and they can get COVID shots, boosters, any type of supplies that they need. So I would say that we tried to make things easier for our community and also educate them as well. And so sometimes we'd go door to door with translators so that they could understand what COVID is about, what's going on, how it can impact your family, things you can do to take care of yourself.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you. Thank you. You continue to inspire me. And also, I love that, you set yourself up for today's conversation in a way that your voice is so clear, your lighting is so perfect. And I honestly feel like I could have a conversation with you for hours and hours and hours, because there's so much layers in the work that you do, and the more you are opening these layers, the more inspired I feel. And I want you to take us a little further though, when it comes to the work that you've been doing around COVID-19. Do you think that this work is still needed? Would you like to continue doing this work if there was sufficient funding available? Part of why we're having this conversation is because the Washington State's Department of Health is providing over $10 million for organizations like yours in partnership with Health Commons Project, who are making today's episode possible. And I want you to speak about whether, if there is funding, you would invest more of your resources and time into doing, into mitigating these problems, because I don't think this is over yet.
No, not at all. And I think that education is still needed. Every event in the last 3 years that I've had we make sure we have the COVID clinic. And the numbers haven't decreased as far as people walking over to the clinic, getting a booster, getting information, or just asking questions because we have translators there. And so it's definitely not over. And there are individuals that I know just last week who got COVID. It's not over, and our children who are going to schools, they seem to be getting it quite a bit. And so I think the education is needed. Um, Again, going door to door to help certain communities. I have a large Gambian, Ethiopian, Somalian, and Nigerian community. And so it's educating them. And again, you know, I know my people and I know that I have to go to them. They're not going to come out all the time. And so I try to put my events in the community where they are. And or again, go door to door with a translator to help them understand it, help them understand that it's not over. You still need to wear your mask. At most events, it's not over. It's important to clean your hands. And so, no, the education is still great, and the education is still needed. And I hope to, with future events, continue to educate the community on COVID.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. For those who are joining us, my name is Simon Javan Ukelo. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast, and I've really been privileged. Over the last few weeks, I have partnered with Health Commons Project, and I am having conversations here as part of Women's History Month. We are highlighting amazing women here in Washington State that are doing wonderful work to really transform our communities. And that's why this morning I am having a conversation with Simona J. Balson, who is the Executive Director of Gifts of Hope. And Gifts of Hope is an amazing organization that is extending the gift of hope to our brothers and sisters and really ensuring that the impact that they're giving people transforms their lives forever. She shared amazing stories here with me, examples of some of the people that they've touched their lives. So make sure that you're visiting their website. Simona, share your website one more time. I want to make sure that a few people who are watching can connect and support and donate to your organization.
Sure. My website is www.givinggiftsofhope.org.
Wonderful. So we are coming towards the end of our program today, and one of the things that I would love for you to share is that some of the lessons that you've learned over the last 2 years in helping support the community mitigate the impacts of COVID-19. What are some of your recommendations to those who are watching and listening? But also, now that there is some funding coming through the community-driven outreach program, what do you recommend for them? Because a lot of the time, government institutions, foundations that are providing funding, they just distribute the funding. They don't have conversations like this where they talk to leaders who are in the front line. And this is a beautiful opportunity for you to actually share with them what they need to do with this money.
With this money, I think what they need to do is keep on educating the communities, and sometimes the communities of color are forgotten. And so it's important to educate them by going directly into the communities, talking to the people. I know in the past that sometimes when you have food, that brings people out. And so they're interested in hearing what you have to say. But just having events and setting up booths and COVID clinics for the individuals. And again, there's power in going to knock on the doors of the individual and talking to them about it. There's power in going to churches, going to mosques to talk about it. And so we hand out flyers. It's important to hand out flyers, go door to door, let them know what's going on in the community. And we can't forget and think that this is over because, and with a drop of the hat, it can return. And so we all have to be educated. And that just means everybody, not just individuals who can speak English, but that's for everybody. It's going into communities, talking with the people, and it's just important to take those dollars to educate the people because we're all in this together. If I rise, you rise. And so it's important for us to extend our hand back and grab our brother and sister and say, let's go, let's walk together. You know what I know, let's get through this.
I love that. I love that. Now, I want you to think about your closing remarks. I want to read a few comments from our audience members who have been watching and paying attention. Lavender, who is joining us from Seattle, says greetings, and brother Arth, who is joining us from North Carolina, says greetings, family. And I see MC Subira is also just saying hello, and I also see a high school colleague of mine, Ken Abala, who is joining us from Kenya. And of course, he says, I'm super proud of you, brother. And he says that he wants Gifts of Hope to open branches outside America. What do you say about that?
I think it's beautiful. As I mentioned, we're creating a rites of passage program, and we're educating our youth, and we're taking them back to Ghana actually this August, and then next year the rites of passage program we're actually going to go to Ghana. So we're looking for someone in Ghana for a contact. We want to take our kids back there and just educate them and show them, the power of our people and what it's like to be in a place where it's majority you, where you see people that look like you. So that's something I've been considering, and God willing, I will get to that point.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Now, what do you want to say that I never asked you? What comments do you want to say? To maybe the community members that know you, but also people who are meeting you for the first time. If just your closing remarks.
I think that everything that in life it happens for a reason, and everything that we experience prepares us for where we're going to go. And I know that I'm here because of the experiences that I've had. I know that you're there because of the experiences you've had. And it's just important to pay attention to our experiences, and it'll show us what we're called to be. And it's just important to find out what you're called to be. And once you find that out, you're equipped with the tools to go out into the world and to, for most of it's helping others. And so I think it's important to know, not just where you come from, but why you're here on this earth. And just once you find that out, go out into the world and share the gift that you've been giving. It's just important. We have limited time on this earth. It's just important to go out and to do whatever it is that you're called and just tap into that. And we have a strong community. And I just want to see the best for us. I want to see us to rise up and know who we are, know whose we are, and what we're capable of doing in this world, and go out there and make a difference.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, I just want to let my audience members know that we are doing Madaraka Festival, and I just added the flyer there. I've been organizing Madaraka Festival for 9 years, and we will be at Benaroya Hall in Seattle, Washington on May 26th. We will be in Irving Plaza in New York on May 16th, and Atlanta May 21st at Bucket Theater, and May 24th in Dallas. So go to madarakafestival.com and learn more. Again, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Samona, I really want to come and visit you in person and just experience your work and break bread. And one day when you make it to Kenya, I'll actually have to organize a ceremony where we will slaughter a chicken or a goat for you, just to honor the amazing work that you're doing. Because in my culture, when you bring in a guest who is doing incredible things, you have to find an animal that you can slaughter in their honor, and so you deserve something like that. So thank you again for all the work that you do. Excellent. So to our viewers, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you leave us with your comments there, whether you're on TikTok, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I just want you all to know that you're deeply, deeply appreciated. I can't do this without you. So I'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of the African Father in America podcast. Remember, our proverb for today was from Zambia, and it is inevitable that two things will rub against each other. That's the proverb. So take care of yourselves. Bye, Samona. Take care of yourself. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle.